Imagine this, you're standing at the altar, heart pounding, dressed in a gown that wasn't meant for you, facing the man who just asked you to be his fake date, but now, as the vows echo through the grand hall, he's looking at you like you're the one he's meant to marry. But how did we get here? Hold on, because this story is about to take you on an emotional roller coaster that starts with a desperate plea and ends with a twist that'll leave you breathless. It all began on a rainy Tuesday afternoon in the bustling heart of New York City. Emily Harper, a 28-year-old graphic designer with a penchant for oversized sweaters and late-night ice cream binges, was staring at her laptop screen in disbelief. The email had popped up like a ghost from her past, an invitation to her ex-boyfriend's wedding. Mark, the guy who'd shattered her heart 2 years ago by cheating with her best friend, was tying the knot with that very same woman. And the worst part? The invitation came with a +1 request, as if to rub salt in the wound. Emily's fingers hovered over the keyboard, her mind racing. She couldn't go alone, that would be humiliating. But who could she ask? Her social circle was small, her dating life non-existent since the breakup. That's when the idea hit her, a wild, reckless one. Her boss, Alexander Voss, the enigmatic CEO of Voss Enterprises, the tech giant where she worked. He was single, devastatingly handsome, and owed her a favor after she'd pulled an all-nighter to save a major client presentation. But asking him to be her fake date? Insane. Yet, as the rain pelted against her window, she typed out the email, "Can you be my date for my ex's wedding?" She hit send before she could second-guess herself. And then, nothing. Minutes ticked by like hours. Had she just ruined her career? The next morning, Emily arrived at the office with a knot in her stomach tighter than her budget after rent day. She avoided the executive floor, burying herself in design mocks for a new app launch. But at noon, her intercom buzzed. "Mr. Voss would like to see you in his office." Her heart dropped. This was it, the firing she dreaded. She smoothed her skirt, took a deep breath, and rode the elevator up. Alexander's office was a sleek expanse of glass and steel, overlooking the skyline. He was behind his desk, all sharp jawline and piercing blue eyes, looking every bit the billionaire tycoon the magazines painted him as. "Emily," he said, his voice smooth as silk, "about your email." She braced herself. "I accept." "Wait, what?" Her world tilted. He said yes. But why? As she stammered her thanks, he leaned back, a mysterious smile playing on his lips. "There's just one condition," he added, his eyes locking onto hers. And that's when the first real cliffhanger hit. What could a man like him possibly want in return? As it turned out, Alexander's condition was simple yet intriguing. He wanted the full story. Over coffee in his office that afternoon, Emily poured out her heart. She told him about Mark, the college sweetheart who'd promised forever only to betray her with Sarah, her roommate and confidant. The pain was still raw, tears welled up as she recounted finding them together in her own apartment. Alexander listened intently, his usual stoic demeanor cracking just a fraction. He shared a bit about himself too, divorced 5 years ago from a woman who'd married him for his money, leaving him wary of relationships. "I understand heartbreak," he said softly. "Let's make this wedding one they'll never forget." Emily felt a spark, something beyond gratitude. Was it attraction? Or just the thrill of revenge? They spent the next few weeks planning. He took her shopping for a dress that made her feel like a queen, emerald green silk that hugged her curves and brought out her hazel eyes. They practiced their couple story, how they met at work, the spark during that all-nighter. Laughter filled those sessions, easing the ache in her chest. But as the wedding date approached, doubts crept in. What if Mark saw through the facade? What if Alexander backed out? And deeper still, what if she was falling for her boss? The wedding was set in a picturesque vineyard upstate, under a canopy of blooming vines and fairy lights. Emily and Alexander arrived in his sleek black limo, turning heads as they stepped out arm in arm. She looked stunning, he whispered in her ear, sending shivers down her spine. Inside, the venue buzzed with guests, old friends from college, Mark's family, and Sarah's clique. Emily's palms sweated as they mingled. Then, there he was. Mark, looking dapper in his tux, but his eyes widened when he saw her with Alexander. Emily? Wow, you brought a date, he stuttered, glancing at the CEO whose net worth could buy the entire vineyard. Sarah approached, her smile forced, jealousy flickering in her gaze. This is Alexander Voss, Emily said proudly, her voice steady. The evening unfolded with toasts and dances. Alexander was the perfect gentleman. Charming the crowd, defending Emily when an old acquaintance pried about the breakup. As they swayed on the dance floor to a slow ballad, he pulled her close. You're doing great, he murmured. Her heart raced. This felt real. Too real. But just as she leaned in, ready to confess her growing feelings, a voice interrupted, Mark, pulling Alexander aside for a private chat. Emily watched them disappear into the garden, her mind swirling. What could her ex possibly say to her fake date? And would it change everything? The tension built as Emily waited by the bar, sipping champagne to calm her nerves. Minutes felt like eternity. When Alexander returned, his face was unreadable, a mask of composure she'd seen in boardrooms. What did he want? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. He hesitated, then smiled faintly. Nothing important. Just old jealousy. But Emily sensed more, his eyes held a shadow. The reception continued, with cake cutting and more dancing. She tried to shake it off, losing herself in Alexander's arms again. As the night wore on, they stole moments alone, walking the vineyard paths under the stars. He opened up more, about his lonely childhood in a small town, building his empire from nothing, the emptiness success brought without someone to share it. Emily shared her dreams, starting her own design firm, traveling the world. Their connection deepened, laughter turning to lingering touches. But doubt lingered. Was this just the magic of the evening or something lasting? As midnight approached, the guests began to thin. Mark and Sarah were saying goodbyes, glowing with newlywed bliss. Emily felt a pang, not of jealousy, but closure. She was ready to move on. Turning to Alexander, she said, "Thank you for this. You didn't have to stay so long." He took her hand. "I wanted to." Their eyes met, and for a moment, the world faded. But then, Sarah approached, her face pale. "Emily, can we talk? Alone?" Emily's stomach twisted. What now? As she followed Sarah to a quiet corner, leaving Alexander behind, the second cliffhanger loomed. What secret was her ex's new wife about to reveal that could shatter everything? Sarah led Emily to a secluded bench overlooking the vines, the night air cool and scented with grapes. "I know this is weird," Sarah began, twisting her wedding ring. "But I have to tell you something." Emily braced herself, old wounds reopening. Sarah confessed. The affair wasn't just a fling. Mark had been planning to leave Emily for months, but Sarah had pushed him into it out of her own insecurities. "I was jealous of you," she admitted, tears streaming. "You were always so talented, so kind. I felt like nothing next to you." But the bombshell? Sarah was pregnant, had been for weeks before the wedding. Mark didn't know yet, she planned to tell him on their honeymoon. "Why tell me?" Emily asked, stunned. Sarah sighed. "Because seeing you tonight with that guy, you look happy. Truly happy. And I realize what I did was wrong. I'm sorry, Emily. For everything." The apology hung in the air, raw and unexpected. Emily felt a weight lift. Forgiveness wasn't easy, but it was possible. She hugged Sarah briefly, a silent truce. Returning to Alexander, she shared the gist, omitting the pregnancy for privacy. He nodded, understanding. "Closure," he said. As they drove back to the city in the limo, the city lights blurring past, Emily turned to him. "What did Mark really say to you earlier?" Alexander paused, then revealed, Mark had warned him off, calling Emily damaged goods, and implying she was using him for show. Anger flared in Emily, but Alexander's response? He defended her fiercely, telling Mark he was the fool for letting her go. "And honestly," Alexander added, "this stopped being fake for me hours ago." Emily's breath caught. They kissed then, soft and tentative, the start of something real. But as the limo pulled up to her apartment, Alexander's phone buzzed urgently, a work crisis, a major investor pulling out. "I have to handle this," he said, regret in his eyes. "But we'll talk tomorrow?" Emily nodded, watching him drive away. Tomorrow came, but so did silence. Days turned to a week, no calls, no texts. Had it all been a dream? Or was he ghosting her? The days blurred into a haze for Emily. She threw herself into work, avoiding the executive floor. Rumors swirled, Voss Enterprises was in turmoil, a hostile takeover looming. Alexander was buried in meetings, jetting between coasts. Emily understood, his empire came first. But the ache grew. She replayed their night, the kiss, his words. Was she just a distraction? One evening, as she scrolled through wedding photos online, a masochistic habit, her phone rang. It was him. "Emily, I'm sorry. This week has been hell." Relief washed over her. They met for dinner at a quiet Italian place, candles flickering. He explained the crisis, a rival company sabotaging deals, forcing him to fight for his legacy. "I didn't want to drag you into it," he said. But Emily insisted, "We're in this together now, right?" That night, they talked for hours, about fears, dreams, vulnerabilities. Alexander admitted his divorce had left him guarded, afraid of love. Emily shared her trust issues from Mark. They resolved to take it slow, building on the foundation of that wedding night. Challenges arose, paparazzi snapped photos of them together, sparking office gossip. Emily faced jealousy from colleagues, questioning her promotions. Alexander dealt with board members doubting his focus. But they navigated it, open communication, stolen lunches, weekend getaways. One key hurdle, Emily's fear of commitment. When Alexander suggested moving in together after 6 months, she panicked, flashbacks to Mark's betrayal. They argued, her pushing him away. "I can't risk my heart again," she cried. He gave her space, but sent a letter, "I'm not him. And you're worth the wait." It hit home. She showed up at his door, ready to try. Resolution came in therapy sessions they attended together, unpacking baggage. Their love grew stronger, more resilient. Months turned to a year. Emily launched her design firm with Alexander's support, thriving independently. He learned to balance work and life, delegating more. Their story became one of growth, two broken souls finding wholeness. But the ultimate test? Another wedding invitation, this time, from mutual friends. Emily tensed, old memories surfacing. Alexander noticed. "We don't have to go," he said. But she wanted to prove she'd moved on. At the event, they danced freely, no pretense needed. As vows were exchanged, Alexander whispered, "One day, that could be us." Emily smiled, no fear this time. Back home, he proposed on one knee, a simple ring symbolizing their journey. "From fake date to forever," he said. She said yes, tears of joy flowing. And so, their story ends not at the beginning, but with a promise: heartbreak doesn't define you, it's the courage to love again that does. Sometimes, the person who says yes to a crazy request stays for the vows because fate has bigger plans. If this tale of redemption and romance touched you, hit that like button and subscribe for more inspiring stories. Who knows? Your next chapter might be just as unexpected.